Oh, hey, boss.
Hey, Tall Fox, how you liking your new office?
Yeah, it's nice. It's a little bit more mom than I'm used to, but I can get used to it. It'll get there.
Really? Well, I mean, we even put up those video game posters, so people know you're a video game guy.
Yeah, about that. I've never actually played Psychonauts. I don't think it's a big deal, but you don't think that's gonna try to bite us or anything?
Yeah, well, this is what you gotta deal with for a while. Life ain't fair.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Hey, what are we working on now?
We're currently working on a live-action Metroid movie.
Really? That's awesome. What's it gonna be about?
We don't have many details yet, but Jennifer Lawrence is gonna play Samus and Steve Buscemi is gonna play Ridley.
Boss, don't you think that we should probably actually try to advertise our movie a little bit more than just putting a bunch of famous people onto it?
Nah, man, once people see who's involved, they'll just throw their money right at the screen.
Okay. By the way, why are you wearing sunglasses?
I had some laser eye surgery. Soon I won't have to wear glasses anymore.
Laser eye surgery? Boss, don't you mean... Oh, okay. Every so often, the marketing types get the bright idea that maybe if they attach someone famous to their product, it will sell better. We see this all the time in movies and video games with varying degrees of success. And from an advertising point of view, it does kind of make sense. I mean, if you want to make something that people like, you should attach someone that they like to it. Hell, for extra effect, why don't we just throw in $1 million contest as well? What could go wrong? This is Advent Rising. Advent Rising is a game developed for the Xbox by Glyph X Games and published by Majesco. If that second name made you shudder for some unknown reason, it's probably because you've also heard it related to Drake and the 99 Dragons, one of the worst games ever made, and a game that Majesco would also publish. With that kind of record, you already know that we're in for a treat. The game itself was planned to be a multimedia giant. There was a planned trilogy for the original game, plans for a PSP spin-off, a comic book series, the whole spiel. Not only that, but the script and screenplay for the game was heavily advertised as being from the mind of famous sci-fi writer Orson Scott Card. In those days, he was known as a renowned sci-fi writer famous for his book Ender's Game, but nowadays he's known as some washed-up hack that spewed off a bunch of homophobic hate. So I guess they bet on the wrong horse, huh? Regardless, there was clearly a lot of hype surrounding this game. It was going to be the next big sci-fi epic, the next Star Wars, the next Halo. Advent Rising was going to beat the brakes off anything that had come before it. To add to the hype, Majesco announced a $1 million contest for a person that found the hidden symbol inside the game. Sadly, things didn't really go to plan. The game follows the character Gideon Wyeth, voiced by teen heartthrob and relatively famous voice actor Will Friedle. Raw Unstoppable has been called home to be the co-pilot for a first contact mission with an alien race. The pilot for the mission turns out to be his brother, Ethan, and so the two meet up, head down to a bar, get some drinks, fight some unimportant tutorial enemies, and watch a guy get kicked in the nuts. The funny thing about the beginning of this game is that it introduces characters and their traits in the same way you'd write a sitcom. There's several moments where characters tell jokes and you can just feel the imaginary laugh track.
Thirsty. Why? Because you're dumb and ugly. But I can do something about thirsty.
Getting your uniform all dirty.
These guys keep rubbing their blood all over it.
This has gone on long enough. Now they're getting my clothes dirty.
Excuse me, Mum, but I can't kill him if you're in the way.
You're also introduced to Terry McGinnis' fiancée, Olivia, who shows up just in time for the aforementioned nutshot, and then disappears so that she become a damsel in distress later. Afterward, you go down to the firing range and learn how the game's combat works. So I'm like 20 minutes into this game and I haven't been given a gun or anything. Am I gonna fight something soon, or... The game's a third-person shooter. Back in the early 2000s, dual-wielding was all the rage, so naturally you have the ability to dual-wield every weapon in the game. Pistols, machine guns, rocket launchers, you can use 2 of each at all times and in any variation. When you need to reload, you just give your guns a little twirl and bam! Ready to fire again. I love to reload during a battle. Furthermore, all guns have an experience system. Using a gun causes it to level up, which makes it more efficient and unlocks an alternate firing mode, such as the grenade launcher for the machine gun. This encourages you to use guns that you're comfortable with, but the problem is that if you're ever in a situation when your gun of choice isn't nearby, you're stuck with using the level 1 crap that you've been neglecting. Thankfully, this isn't a huge issue since enemies remain the same level of strength throughout the entire game, but with that in mind you have to ask the question, why bother even including a leveling system to begin with? Is it to try and add a level of depth? Because it doesn't really work. We should also take a moment to talk about the targeting system, aka one of the most broken aspects of the game. There's no manual aiming in Advent Rising, instead you have to rely on what's referred to as flick targeting. Essentially it boils down to this: you want to aim at a target, flick your right thumbstick in their direction to lock on. This will make all your attacks hit them. If you want to change targets, you flick in the direction of another enemy. Simple, right? Well, let's say you want to disengage from your target and have control of your camera again. You can't. And herein lies the biggest issue with flick targeting. It sucks, it limits your vision, your depth perception, and it's also buggy as hell. There are several moments playing where I would destroy a target and I would stay locked on, force me to look in one direction, and try my best not to fall to my death as I blindly advanced. Anyway, after your tutorial, you finally meet with the aliens and find out that they totally worship humans. Awesome! Free alien bar mitzvahs for everybody! Unfortunately, the Aurelians, that's the alien zealots, mentioned that another race of aliens are coming to wipe out all the humans. So we've totally covered both ends of the extremist field in the span of 10 seconds. The Seekers, that's the asshole aliens, are coming to wipe out humanity for some unclear reason. The humans are given 3 days to prepare, but naturally nobody wants to wait that long, so they decide to show up immediately instead. Gee, that's awfully nice of them, considering I'm still 45 minutes in and have not killed a single alien yet. Your ship crashes and you ferry your brother to safety, only to realize that the love of your life is in danger and you have to run off to save her. And then finally, you get to fight some aliens. And fight them you do, all the way to Olivia and back before it's made apparent that the station is going down, and you only have enough time to save one of your loved ones. For that drama, I chose to save Ethan this playthrough, which means that Olivia gets to stay behind and be alien chow. From here on out, the game turns into a slog. You get a few Warthog ripoff levels and proceed to fight your way through a city as you try to warn humanity's last stronghold about the alien attack. Gee, I wonder if that warning's gonna help. It's not. After you reach the nameless admiral of humanity, he tells you to GTFO the planet while you still can. So you arrive with your brother and meet with the other major human character of the game, Marin Steele, a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. Marin, Lion-O, and his brother get off the planet just in time before it's wiped out by a giant meteor, then link up with surviving Aurelians who offer to take them home with them. They believe that by appealing to a galactic senate, because every universe needs to have one of these, they'd expose the Seekers for their genocidal crimes. The Aurelians also offer to teach you about their ancient religion, revealing why humans are just so revered among their people. Apparently, humans have an untapped potential to become physical gods, gifted with powers like telekinesis, pyrokinesis, speedy kinesis. All this leads to the second half of the game where powers take a front row seat. Over the course of the story, Blue Beetle gains new powers as the plot demands. Powers function the same way that weapons do. You equip one in each hand, and the more you use them, the stronger they get, eventually unlocking alternate abilities. Unlike guns, however, powers can't be dual-wielded. Powers also share an energy bar. When you're out of energy, you have to wait for it to recharge before you use your powers again. Unfortunately, this means having to use 2 powers at once isn't a good idea, as you'll run out of juice quick. Instead, it's better to use a power and a gun in tandem, which in theory can lead to some interesting combos. So, there's another half to this game, and I could summarize it for you because story-wise, things do sort of happen, but I'm not going to. Because replaying this game has made me realize something about it. In fact, it has made me realize just what about this game is so bad. It is boring. When this game came out, it was torn apart by critics. It was a glitchy, horrendously paced mess that was nothing that had been promised. The aforementioned power system was a highly advertised for the game, and it was supposed to be the highlight of the series and the main focus. And while the powers were probably the best part of this game, you don't even get access to them until several hours of playing. Instead, you spend the first act of the game running around, learning how to play, shooting guns, and developing doomed characters. Not to mention that after the human race gets wiped out, you lose access to humanity's weapons that you might have been leveling up. So those level 5 machine guns you love so much are now gone forever. Furthermore, there's so much that happens in this game that just feels like padding. Between every level you get a cutscene of things happening. Not important things, just things. Seekers are invading a human city. Seekers are shooting guns. People are running. Main character's throwing up. Feel the intrigue. And that's where Advent Rising fails the most. This game just feels empty most of the time, and that's what makes it boring. Every single stage plays exactly the same. You run into a room, shoot a bunch of bad guys, shoot a bunch of more bad guys, shoot even more bad guys, then you continue, only to repeat the exact same crap in the very next level. Throw in a few vehicle segments and glitchy boss fights, and hey, you have a game. There's just no variation in how you do anything. The powers are unique from each other and offer some different options, but the best strategy for tackling any situation becomes, how do I kill everything in this room as quickly as possible? You might get an objective every once in a while that says you need to hold down an area or go activate something, but it just boils down to shooting and cartwheeling until the game lets you move on. Finally, the game just feels like it's trying too hard. Characters make jokes and quips trying to sound cool, but awkwardly stumble through every cutscene like they just woke up. The main character can dual-wield rocket launchers and twirl them around like he's pretending to be some kind of badass, but then he hops around like a toad in gameplay. The soundtrack makes every attempt to be epic, but it's peppered with opera so liberally throughout the game that it becomes laughable. Listen to this song that plays during a bar fight. Needless to say, Advent Rising didn't do very well on the market. Critics tore it to shreds for the reasons I mentioned, and all future plans of the series were cancelled, including a PSP spinoff that would have starred Marin. Also, you remember that $1 million contest that was so heavily advertised? Yeah, that got cancelled too. Apparently, releasing the game in different time zones would give some people an unfair advantage. It's truly a shame that Advent Rising didn't live up to its hype. If the game had been even half of what it advertised itself as, we could have been looking at what would be the next great sci-fi epic. Instead, we got a glitchy, boring mess. There's so many points where the game just feels like it wants to be more, like where it seems like they want to implement meaningful choices. There's a part where you get into a fight with Marine and you can either kill him or stun him, but nothing happens with it later. And then there's a whole save your brother or save your girlfriend, but this just changes the last level slightly and the other person dies all on their own. To add insult to the injury, the game ends on a massive cliffhanger, one that will likely never be resolved. So people that actually like the story will never get the resolution they desire. Oddly enough, the game got a PC release years later and actually has a pretty high score on Steam. A patch was released that fixes a lot of issues the game had in terms of glitches, but even if it fixed the glitches with this game, it doesn't necessarily fix the other inherent problems it had. It's still poorly paced and has uninspired level design. Well, unless you consider ripping straight off Halo inspiring. Really though, game publishers can learn a lot from the story of Advent Rising. Sure, you can hire a well-known and later discredited author to write your story for you. Sure, you can tie it all up nice in a $1 million contest to entice treasure-hunting gamblers. Sure, you can say it's going to be the best thing to hit the market since backwards compatibility. But none of that makes it a good game. A good game is made by making responsible choices, reasonable deadlines, and hiring skilled developers. Anything less is just trying too hard. And boy, do we know something about trying too hard.
You wanna with me? I'll show you who you're with.
I volunteer as tribute.